everybody. I'm going to take a few minutes in this video to explain what you need to do to complete the Poetry1 assignment for this week. First thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you've gone over the PowerPoints in the week 2 module. There's PowerPoints that go over chapter 17 and 18. And of course there's video lessons that follow up on those PowerPoints that you can watch as well. You definitely want to go over the material in the PowerPoints. Second thing, this is a text submission assignment, so you'll type your answers directly into the text box, right? It's due Sunday night at 11:59. Last thing before I get into the questions, don't do any outside research for this assignment. You can use the information from the PowerPoints and the video lessons. Definitely actually use that information, but don't do any outside research on any of the poems that I'm asking you to look at. Just give it your best shot, okay? Remember, I grade based on effort, so just try to use the lessons from this week. Don't do any outside research. All right, so task 1. So on slide 8 of the chapter 18 PowerPoint, you read the poem My Last Duchess and watched a video about that poem. In the chapter 18 video lesson, we discussed the persona of that poem. I want you to go back into that PowerPoint and read Porphyria's Lover on slide 9 and Siren Song on slide 10. You're going to answer the 2 questions I have listed here. Question 1. How does Porphyria's Lover rely on persona, and what do we learn about the poem's persona? Be specific and thorough with your response. If you haven't gone through that PowerPoint yet, that question might not make any sense to you. Once you go through the PowerPoint and watch the video lesson, it will make much more sense, and there'll be a lot of useful information to help you answer this question. And then question number 2 under task 1, how does Siren Song rely on persona, and what do we learn about the poem's persona? Be specific and thorough with your response. So again, the information from the PowerPoint and the video lesson will help you with that question as well. So task 2 then says on slide 11 of the chapter 8 PowerPoint, you read the poem My Papa's Waltzed and you watched a video about that poem. And then in the chapter 18 video lesson, where I go over the whole PowerPoint with you, we talked about the tone of that poem. Now I want you to go back and read Those Winter Sundays on slide 12 and Barbie Doll on slide 13 and answer the following questions. Question 1, how would you describe the tone of Those Winter Sundays, and what words, phrases, or images make you feel that way? How does the tone of this poem relate to the overall message or theme? Be specific and thorough with your response. Again, the PowerPoint and the video lesson cover this. We talk about it. You'll do the same thing for question 2. How would you describe the tone of Barbie Doll, and what words, phrases, or images make you feel that way? How does the tone of this poem relate to the overall message or theme of the poem? Be specific and thorough with your response. Alright, so basically, in the chapter 18 PowerPoint, we looked at one poem in terms of persona. There was a link to a video where you heard me explain that poem, talking about its persona. So you get an idea of what we mean by watching that video about My Last Duchess. Then you're going to look at the other 2 poems that I've listed there on slides 9 and 10, Porphyria's Lover and Siren Song. In the video lesson, where I talk about the whole PowerPoint, the video lesson that's listed underneath the PowerPoint, I talk about persona and I talk a little bit about these two poems. Use that to help you answer these questions. Same thing with task 2. We looked at tone in poetry. There was one poem you read and watched a video of me discussing that poem, My Papa's Waltz. Then there were 2 other poems, right? Those Winter Sundays and Barbie Doll on the next 2 slides. In the video lesson PowerPoint where I talk about all of chapter 18, I talk about those 2 poems as well. So use that to help you answer the questions for all 4 poems you're being asked to read. Okay? You might, it might seem overwhelming, but you can do it. Go back and read through those PowerPoints, watch that video lesson on chapter 18, right? And watch the videos on slides 8 and 11. Because on slide 8, that's where I talk about My Last Duchess. That will help you understand what we mean by persona. Then, watch the chapter 18 video lesson to help you think a little more about persona for Porphyria's Lover and Siren Song. Same thing in task 2. Watch the video on slide 11 where I discuss My Papa's Waltz. It will help you understand more about tone and how we figure out the tone of a poem. And then you read those Winter Sundays and Barbie Doll. And in the chapter 18 video lesson, I talk about those 2 poems and give you a little bit more information about those. So you want to watch the 2 videos, the one on slide 8 and the one on slide 11. And then when you get through the whole PowerPoint, if you haven't watched the chapter 18 video, you'll want to watch that, because that's where I discuss the whole PowerPoint. The videos on slides 8 and 11 are just about those 2 poems. But then underneath the PowerPoint tab is the video lesson tab where I go through the whole PowerPoint with you, right? So use those videos, use the slides to your advantage. If you have any questions, I'm always here. But remember, just give it your best shot, and I think you guys will do just fine. Right? If you have any problems, feel free to reach out to me.